Do you know what episode this is?
This is episode 20.
Of me sitting down once a week to talk about life and business as a 26-year-old Aussie here in Spain.
Welcome back to Monday Diaries, baby.
Damn.
The only thing you have in life is the present moment. The past is just a memory. The future hasn't happened yet. All you got is now. This moment, and this moment, and this moment, and this moment.
You actually look like Lord Farquaad from behind.
Dude, I look like Lord Farquaad from in front.
As always, this is going to be a one-take raw update alongside my Thursday videos, which is more of an interactive week vlog, which you should check out if you haven't already. I still need a name for that. Art of Monday's update is on the screen right now. In the last 4 months that we've been live, we've had 94 completed applications. We've accepted 23 members into the community, so up a couple from last week. I'll talk about them in a second. The average member does about 3 mil a year and is 25 years of age, so a lot of them are actually staying with us here in Mallorca right now, so you might get to meet them later on. As for personal brand growth, YouTube is sitting at 1,200 subs, which is up 200 from last week, which is pretty cool to see. Instagram is at 156k, which did go up 500 or 600, and then I lost nearly 1,000 off the back of that. I've been pretty slack with the real grind, so there's that natural fall off, but I'm going to get back onto that. And TikTok is at 322k, which is up about 130 people from last week. So this is week 2 of living in the founder house, and I'm taking you guys along with me. And it's been pretty dialed, to be honest. We've been working kind of ad hoc at random hours and whatnot, sometimes just locking in for late night sessions, which I've never really done before. Back home, I was like up at 5 and like the early morning. But here, I've just been letting loose and enjoying it. But playing a lot of paddle. I've hit CrossFit a couple of times this week. And a few of the boys running pretty regularly as well. So it's been cool. Just a real hub and a good energy since we've been here. So in the house, you might be curious, there are 2 e-commerce guys. There's 3 creators, 2 SaaS founders, 1 agency guy, and an honorable mention to Connor, who's staying nearby, and he's head of product at a pretty big crypto company. And then, of course, Evan and myself, who are building Art of Mondays, the founder community. And yeah, it's a cool little hub. I'll try to intro them in the Thursday episodes and give you guys more context as to what they're building and who they are, etc. So we just got back from a day trip out to Sa Calobra. I think that's how you say it. It's a beach that's pretty well known in Mallorca, but still hard to get to. It takes a long, hour and a half driving on a scooter down a long, windy road. And we sent it out there for a day trip because it was Flynn's birthday, my brother. And just want to take a second to appreciate him because we've been through a lot of life together. He's my younger brother, so I've seen his whole journey, and I get to be out here in Spain with him and supporting him. And you've seen him on the YouTube videos, so you kind of get his vibe, and he's just like that with anyone he meets. He really elevates people's lives, so I'm appreciative of that today. And yeah, let's jump into the big win of the week. So we accepted a couple of new members, which is always a win. We only open our doors once a month, but that's not the actual win I was going to talk about. I think it's actually getting our content team together for a group chat. So most of you guys know we hired a few editors a couple of weeks ago, and it was the first time that we'd all got in a room together, or a Zoom room, I suppose, and really just aligned on values and shared some ideas and really got everyone amped up about what we're building. So these guys are coming on really early stages in what we're building, and it's going to be cool to see where we go from here. So it was also a chance to give them some value, give them some ways to grow as well, and make sure we're all sort of constantly learning. So that was a big one. Lesson for the week. The biggest lesson for me is around the ultimate form of leverage. And I believe there's many forms of leverage, but one huge one that just proves itself time and time again is just building a personal brand and that social reputation, I suppose. It is your own brand ultimately. And the example I'll give is a guy reached out to me on Instagram like a couple of days ago. His name's Casey. He's probably watching this now. And he goes, "Hey man, I saw your YouTube, came over here and I noticed you followed me. I was just wondering if you use a software or something." Like he was wondering how I knew him. And I was like, who's this guy? And I looked at his profile and I realized it was someone I followed 7 years ago, like 2018. when I was building the agency, and he was also in a similar group or community to me, and he was kind of crushing it with his partner. And I think, you know, I was just curious about what they were doing, and followed back then, and then kind of forgot about it. And for him to have seen a YouTube video 6 or 7 years later, reached out to me and just made that connection, and he's building some really cool things now as well, is like, just blows my mind that the internet can do that. You know, that's one example, and I get messages every day, reconnecting with people who've seen a TikTok video I posted 4 years ago, and just like, it's crazy, this flow-on effect that putting content out on the internet has. Not just video content, it could be written content on Twitter and newsletters and all sorts of stuff, but it's just like, it was just such a great reminder to do that more often. It's a really hard thing to do, and it actually ties in with my biggest challenge for this week, or not so much a challenge for me, but in general. Why is it so hard to be consistent with putting content out in the world? And I remember when I was in Morocco about this time last year, and we were sending it on like a 20-hour bus ride into the Sahara Desert, and it was sweaty, 40 degrees, nothing else to do but listen to podcasts. And I listened to Alex Hormozi speak, and he was talking about this idea of input-output equation. And it's basically, sorry, one sec. Are you guys going to dinner? Okay. Sweet, see you there. Lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, he's talking about this concept called the input-output equation. And when Alex wanted to start building his own personal brand, he went to a friend of his who had done that, and he said, "Hey man, I need some help. What do you recommend?" And the guy turns and goes to him, "How often are you posting?" And Alex goes, "Once a day." He goes, "Oh, once a day. That's interesting." And Alex was like, "Okay, lesson learned. I'm going to go away and I'm going to increase what I'm doing." And it wasn't so much that you should be posting more than once a day. The lesson was more that you should be increasing your input. So Alex went from posting once a day to 7 times a day across different platforms and whatever else. And so he increased his input from 1 to 7, and his output, his audience growth, etc., went up 49 times. It wasn't linear. And I think that's the lesson, is you can increase your input, and what happens is, first of all, you get more chances at like hitting big and going viral, but also a much quicker feedback loop. You can see what works well and iterate and do it better the next time, and very, very quickly improve on what you're doing to get much greater outcomes. And you know, all it takes is that one video to go crazy, and that's where you see a lot of the momentum. So for me, I always like go back to that when I get stagnant and slow down on things, and it's a reminder to myself, even this week, is just to keep showing up. And if you could tie it to specific outcomes, like for example, at my peak when I was posting daily on Reels, I was probably averaging 1,000 followers Reel across the board when you average it all out. And so it's pretty strong motivation to just go, do I feel like editing today? Should I put a video out? Do I want 1,000 more new interesting people in my network that potentially I could have a conversation with? Yeah, probably. I'm going to post that reel, you know? So yeah, if you could put a tangible number on it, and then if you go one step further, if you have a business of some kind, and you know, 1 in 1,000 people turns into a customer, then you know that customer's worth $500, then suddenly that reel is worth $500 to post. And if you could break it down like that, it just becomes a no-brainer, and you don't actually need motivation in the same way, if that makes sense. So anyway, that was a challenge from this week. And one thing to ponder, for you to ponder, is a concept called your kitchen pantry. And this came from a coach of mine, and he talked about, you know, in your kitchen pantry, you have all of these ingredients, right? The salt and the pepper and the spices and the this and the that. And he used the analogy of your kitchen pantry as like your circle of friends or people in your life, your relationships. And some of them are in there for a rainy day, you know, some spices that you use every now and then, and they come in and they're there for a purpose, and they really make sense. And then there's others that have expired and you don't use, or they're not serving you anymore, and they're probably people or ingredients that you should cut out of your life, throw out at different times. And it sounds cutthroat, but it's so true. It's like, audit your kitchen cabinet to see who should be there and who shouldn't, because you evolve as a person every week, every month, every year. You're different, you're evolved, and so should your circle of friends. So that's something to ponder for you. Have the hard conversations that you're meant to have, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace and love. Hope you start fucking Mondays too.